Welcome to Empower and Evolve, and I'm your host, Dunstan, and thanks for coming into today's episode. Now, this podcast is designed for those looking to break free from stagnation and enhance their well-being through actionable insights and inspiring stories. So you'd never miss an episode, hit that follow button and follow us through our social media accounts. Now, if you find value in our discussions, consider sharing this podcast with friends who you think might benefit listening today. Now let's get started on this journey of empowerment and transformation. Hi, Dun here, and thanks for coming back to Empower and Evolve. Now I hope everyone had a great Valentine's weekend last week, whether it's with your loved ones, with your family, or even spending time for yourself, practicing self-love. Now, for this week, we'll try to talk about this question. Right. This is not the topic of today's episode, but I want to start off today with this question. How has life been treating you, my friend? Has the world been nice to you? Has the world been kind to you? Or has the world been harsh and difficult for you? Now, for today, whether the world has been nice and kind or harsh and difficult, I'd like to talk about ways we can practice gratitude on a daily basis or in our daily life, right? I mean, it's not just saying thank you, right? It's a mindset that recognizes and appreciates the good in our lives, no matter how small. And then at the latter part, we'll talk about strategies to help incorporate that in your daily routine and how it can lead to greater happiness and fulfillment. So this topic's gonna be kind of weird, so to speak, but grab a cup of coffee or your soda or your wine, or I don't know what you're drinking right now, or if you're seated or traveling or in bed. But I'm sure this is going to be a very interesting topic today. So without further ado, let's dive in. Right? So when you talk about gratitude, right? And I said usually it's more than just saying thank you. And thank you is one of the three, for me, the three strongest phrases. First one is I love you. Second is I'm sorry. And third is thank you. Right? Now, why is gratitude important? Right? You know, normally, of course, we will be thankful for having the positive aspects in our life. But when you think about life in itself, it's not always a bed of roses. It's not every day it's going to be great. It's not going to be good. You'll have difficult days and difficult times, right? However, when you look at it, especially at my age, I'm grateful for being able to experience those difficult days, those difficult times, those difficult conversations, those heartaches, those headaches, right? Because I was able to learn lessons from them. I was able to pick up things from those experiences that helped me to become a better version of myself, right? And contrary to common misconception that it's always just saying thank you for the good things, right? It's it's weird if you're gonna pray. I mean, for me, I'm a Catholic, right? I would pray to God and I would tell them, Lord, thank you for the day, although it was difficult. Or Lord, thank you because I made a mistake at work. I messed up a report, or I forgot to do my homework, or I didn't do well in the exams. Now you might be telling me, Don, are you crazy? Right? That's a crazy thought when you think about that. But it teaches you resilience. It teaches you to meditate and go back to the drawing board. It gives you the opportunity to look at the situation with a different set of lens, right? If that bad day involved me not doing my assignment, I go back and ask myself, why wasn't able to do my assignment? Oh, I spent time playing uh, extra time in choir practice, right? I've learned now that I have to prioritize things. I mean, choir is something I am passionate about when I was younger, but it taught me that, hey, before you start doing choir practice, finish your homework first. If you have to just be late for 30 minutes because you're finishing your homework, then do so, right? I mean, it taught me how to prioritize things. If the day was bad because I missed a report, because I was distracted, or I was upset with my boss. That's why I intentionally didn't finish it on time, so that my boss will have a difficult time with his report, right? It taught me that I have to be professional. That even if I had a bad conversation with my boss, or my boss scolded me for something I missed doing, or I didn't do right, or I didn't do well, it taught me now to be more careful. It taught me to be professional, just like I said earlier. It taught me that, uh, yes, my feeling is valid, but it does not mean that I will let my emotions dictate how should I be acting, right? For some, they may have gone, or may have, or are going through a really difficult time, maybe them finding their loved one in a terminal illness, or just recently died. And if that's the case, condolences if it already died. But if they're like a terminal case, of course, you'd start to ask and question the why. Why do I have to go through this difficult time? Right? And at first, of course, you won't understand. Honestly, you won't understand. I've gone through that phase. I'll be honest. I've gone through that phase that I even questioned my faith, because it was one negative experience after another, after another, after another. And then I realized that the reason that bad experience happened one over the other and the other, because I was doing bad habits. I wasn't correcting myself. I thought I was doing something right. But then I realized if I change something in what I do with my relationships, the results would be different. And true enough, right? But I had to go through those difficult times for me to learn. It's not fun, right? I mean, if you lost a love, especially if you lost a loved one, why did it happen? Maybe they died of complications of diabetes or cholesterol. I don't know. No, maybe it's teaching you to be more careful with what you're eating, or building a more healthy habit, right? And sometimes life will give us the more difficult experiences, the bitter experiences, for us to be able to learn, because we're hard-headed, right? But I don't want us to dive too much on the feeling of negativity for today, right? Because it's a weird experience that you want to be thankful for those negative experiences. But what we can do now is ask ourselves, how can we practice gratitude and learn from those experiences? Whether the experiences are the negative ones, which we don't like, of course, we try to not experience at all, to the more exciting ones, the more positive ones, right? The small things that would make us happy, that would give us joy, would give us a sense of fulfillment, right? There are a few things, right? The first one I would say is you journal. Do some journaling, right? I mean, if you have been listening, journaling is one type of therapy actually um, that you can do to clear your mind and put it in paper, right? Whether it's a negative thought, whether it's a good experience, a bad experience, and everything in between, right? Journaling now, and if you write a gratitude journal, right, write down the things that you're happy for today. If you don't want to write it down, that's perfectly fine. I will tell you the moment you wake up, there's something to be grateful for because you're able to wake up that day. A lot of people, they die in their sleep, right? Second, if you're a person who builds the habit of physical activity, you do include your meditation uh, on your morning walks or afternoon walks, your exercise. And when you start doing those walks, those exercise walks, right? Your cardio workouts, right? Learn to appreciate the birds and the bees and the grass and the flowers along the path, physically and metaphorically. When you go to a journey, of course, our goal is always to look at the end goal. What can I achieve out of this journey? What can I achieve by doing a certain action? If you're following your own action plan, right? But during the checkpoints, when you try to observe, was there any change or has there been any changes? And if there are, then be grateful because you may not realize it because you were looking at the next milestone or the next checkpoint, but every day in between from where you started now and let's say 1 week or 2 weeks after, you have improved. Whether it's not 100% successful, you're only able to do 4 out of 5 days. It's still better than just 1 out of 5 or 3 out of 5, right? So be grateful for those things. Next, I think this is nice to have, is daily affirmations, right? And using my example earlier, when you wake up, that's already something to be grateful for. Feeding yourself affirmations at night and in the morning does a lot of good things. When you feed affirmations at night, it helps you to attract positivity while you're sleeping. I mean, a lot of people say that it works. For me, I would say I also believe that when you sleep before you go to bed, make sure you feel good, right? And one part of it is doing affirmations. And when you wake up in the morning, because you are the first thing you do is you affirm, you feed yourself with positivity. What's gonna happen now is for the rest of the day, you've already set the tone of how your day and how you are going to do your day. Your actions now are intentfully toward something positive. You'd be more conscious to say ill words, right? Now, this is something I actually have before in one of my offices when I was still working in one of the BPOs. Is I keep a gratitude jar. Maybe you can do that on your own. You don't need a huge jar, and it's not really intended as like a jar, but more of a container. And there you put, if you have small post-it notes or just strips of paper, and right there, every day, Write down something that made you feel you want to express your gratitude. You can write there positive affirmations. Example, one strip of paper in my gratitude jar would say, you've talked to person X who was feeling depressed because his wife left him. And now he's thriving, right? So it's a word of encouragement. So every time you feel doubtful, you feel negative, open a gratitude jar. Get a piece of paper and read a note, just one note, and just think about that, right? Another maybe strip of that you can put in your gratitude jar, a small note that you can write down there, is um, somebody cooked your favorite food, or somebody made you chicken soup when you were sick, or somebody even tried to text to send you an SMS when you were sick and ask you, "Hey, are you okay? Do you need someone to come over to cook food for you?" Right? And that simple memory, right? Because you were able to relive that memory through that piece of paper, that piece of note. You tend to think about that, and yeah, somebody does really care about me, and it puts you in a positive mood. Now, another way to do that is, of course, every time you get something positive that you feel you have gratitude for, write it down, put it in the jar, and at the end of the year, normally you do that on the eve of your birthday, or maybe on December 31st, right? Things that you want to be grateful for. You start opening the jar and read everything, right? So you can feed yourself positivity for the following year, and then start building a new jar. Burn that out so they can have new space for new things that you'd like to be grateful for, or transfer all of those in your journal, right? Whatever works for you, that's perfectly fine. Lastly, is, I think, the more obvious one is expressing appreciation. Whether this is self-love, good job patting yourself on the back, treating yourself to something small, small treats, right? Um, or expressing that appreciation towards another person by saying thank you, verbal, handwritten notes, or small acts of kindness is will help feed that gratitude mindset, because you're practicing the act already. And once you start doing the act regularly, and that's a challenge for you guys, do one act of kindness and gratitude every day. Just one act. And be mindful about it, right? After a few weeks of doing that, you'll be surprised that it becomes a habit. Like the habit of saying thank you. A lot of folks that I've worked with for the past decade and so, or decades in my life, I've only seen a handful who really say thank you. And I'm surprised. Right? They're not mindful about it, but for a lot of people, saying thank you is important. Think of it this way. A lot of you guys pretty much have gone through malls or even fast food chains, right? And when you go to a fast food chain, of course, there's someone in the counter taking your order. You do your thing, order. Take after you get your order, you pay, and you have your meal, right? Imagine if they weren't there that day to take your order. So who's gonna take your order? Imagine how many hours have they stood up at the counter, and how many customers have they talked to in that day, and did the same level, same energy of how they would greet the customer, how they would take their order, and sir, here's your change. Thank you for coming to XYZ fast food, right? It's tiring. And when you feel tired, so if someone says thank you for today, thank you for the work that you do, it changes their mood. It encourages them more. I've been watching a lot of Korean and Japanese series. There's one thing that I've noticed with particularly with Japanese and TV series. They would say thank you to their employees for coming in today. Thank you for the hard work today. And that's on top of their pay, right? Imagine it's a taboo if you give a tip when you're in Japan, in a restaurant, for example. In the United States or any part of the world, it's pretty normal if you put a tip. But in Japan, if you put a tip in their tray, right, they will actually feel offended, right? It's weird. It's a love language. Giving money is a form of expressing your gratitude, right? But for them, saying thank you for what they do actually holds more value, right? So when I think about that, if you practice that habit of saying thank you or appreciating someone, especially if like in my case you've been in the leadership role, you thank the people for coming into the work today. You thank them for answering calls because I was in the BPO, right, for quite some time. Taking in calls, making customers happy, ensuring quality is being done on every single call. They're meeting their individual goals. And I'm thankful for that because I know they've done their work. And the hard work that they do um, accumulates and rolls up to the program that I was managing. So the program was doing well. My team was doing well, right? And I'm thankful for that because it involves every single one in my group, in my team, in my cluster, in my organization, that they do the hard work every single day to make sure that we are able to deliver what's expected and maybe be more than what's expected. So as we close today's episode, right? Ask yourself that question. What kind or what manner of gratitude have you expressed today? Or are you planning to express today to the people or even to yourself? Because remember that cultivating gratitude, it's a journey, right? It doesn't happen overnight, and it takes practice, it takes a change of mindset, and that mindset enriches your life. It enriches, sorry, it enriches your overall well-being. So by doing these actions and building that mindset, it helps you to become a better version of you. And I hope that listening to today's episode enlightens you that not everything that is good and not everything that's good, you should be grateful. More so, you should be more grateful. Sorry, let me do that again. You should be grateful for the great and the good things that's happening in your life. But be more grateful for the challenges, the difficulties, and the journey. If you have been listening for quite some time, that you go day in, day out, and you're doing the grind to make yourself a better version of yourself. Because you love yourself and you want to become a better version of yourself. Right? And here at Empower and Evolve, that's our goal as well. We want to equip you, we want to encourage you to become a better version of yourself. And we're always here to help you out. If you have questions, if you want a one-on-one conversation with me, give you some advice on how we can strategize, right? The things that you want to work on. Feel free to send me an email. That's empowerevolving@gmail.com. Again, that's empowerevolving@gmail.com. And I'll be more than happy to spend some time with you. Sit down, maybe jump on a call and see where we can help you or I can help you in your journey to become a better version of you. So with that, thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Again, my name is Dan, and remember, here at Empower and Evolve, our goal is to help you become a better version of you. Take care. I'll catch you next week. Bye for now. Hey buddy, thank you for joining us on this transformative journey of empowerment and growth. Now remember, it's not just about evolving. It's about embracing that incredible power within you to become the best version of yourself. Keep striving for greatness, because together, we can create a world where empowerment knows no bounds. And if you find value in today's episode, please subscribe, rate, and share this podcast with someone who could use that little inspiration. Until next time, stay empowered, stay inspired, and keep shining brightly on your path to evolution. With Empower and Evolve, you have the tools to unleash your potential and rewrite your story. Let's continue to evolve together.